っておるのじゃ。
こうすると約束なされ。
満足か、それとも日のむ見えてもじゃ。できておるか。
覚悟は
のはこれで3度目じゃ。領事費をかけておるに。あの方は
In my culture, we would say 私もあなた世の中の目的で Our Father 見失った時
Why did he send? Right.
The roster of prominent individuals who perished in Shogun is becoming longer. A significant turning point in the mini-series occurred with the pitiful demise of Toranaga's son, Nagakado, who appeared to put the underdog on the defensive. However, Toranaga planned his next action during the time of grief. But because he kept his plans a secret, his own people continued to assume the worst. Everyone was therefore startled when Toranaga declared he was going to turn himself into a Shido. Hiramatsu took his own life, hoping to persuade Toranaga to reconsider. But Toranaga was determined to show Ishido that he was powerless, so he remained in place. He told Mariko simply that he was hiding something from her, and that if she helped John and Yabashiga go to Osaka to declare his surrender, he would be able to tell it. And, well, she didn't have a good experience. Hiramatsu took his own life, hoping to persuade Toranaga to reconsider. But Toranaga was determined to show Ishido that he was powerless, so he remained in place. He told Mariko simply that he was hiding something from her, and that if she helped John and Yabashiga go to Osaka to declare his surrender, he would be able to tell it. And, well, she didn't have a good experience. John notices that the Portuguese are still defrauding the Japanese in their economic dealings. They then make their way to the castle. Mariko restates that Ishido is enslaving the families of the regents in Osaka, which is the reason behind his actions. Yabashiga, in the meantime, restates the suggestion they will make to Ishido. When Mariko gets back together with Lady Shizu and Kiri, they bemoan the circumstances that forced them to exist. Before we go back to the conference involving Yabashiga, John, Okiba, Mariko, Ishido, the regents, and their families, we show the Portuguese speculating briefly about what Toranaga and his delegation are going to do. After Kayama and Yabashiga exchange a few brief words on their objectives, Yabashiga abruptly declares that he and John would provide Ishido with all of their available artillery. Kayama laughs at this notion because he wants the church to judge John. According to Yabashiga, John is currently outside the church's purview. John criticizes Kayama for supporting the Portuguese while being a man of faith. In essence, Kayama responds that he is fond of money and that the Portuguese should be his allies because they were there first. This is a fairly poor response. That being said, Ishido rejects Yabashiga and John's offer of allyship, making the meeting a complete failure for them. Subsequently, Mariko appears to inform Ishido that Toranaga is still in grief and declares her intention to go for Edo together with Kiri and Shizu. Ishido is clearly keeping people captive in order to ensure that his ideas are approved without challenge, as he starts to openly oppose Mariko's departure from Osaka along with Kiri and Shizu. Ishido refuses to budge, telling Mariko that she must wait for the regents to make a decision on her ability to go. Yabashiga is visibly shocked and incensed by Mariko's choice to speak out against Ishido, particularly given that he is attempting to gain the dictator's trust. When John attempts to figure out why Mariko is acting in the ways that she is, she only asks that he keep his mouth shut. Ryuji treats his mother disrespectfully for standing up to Ishido. It seems like all the Nazi propaganda that permeates Osaka has indoctrinated him. Mariko goes on with her plan to leave the palace even if that upsets her. There is a lot of bloodshed. Mariko is compelled to pick up a weapon. It is made clear by Kayama and Ono that they are terrified to take action against Ishido since doing so would put their families' lives in danger. Mariko ultimately proves what she set out to establish. which is that Ishido rules Osaka with an iron grip. In order to prevent a single individual from controlling all of the nation's policies and decisions, the Taiko instituted the system of regents. And until the heir became old enough to govern, these regents were meant to uphold the current state of affairs. Ishido has disregarded the Taiko and gone against this decision by behaving in an autocratic manner. Mariko announces that since she isn't being allowed to serve her lord, Toranaga, she is going to die by suicide at the end of the day. Mariko is Christian, and that's why she asks Lord Kiyama to be her second so that she isn't condemned to go to hell. Ishido prevents Kiyama from doing so, even though Okiba warns Ishido that if Mariko dies, there's going to be an uprising that he won't be able to handle. On the flip side, if Ishido allows Mariko to leave, he has to let everyone else leave, too, which is something that Ishido doesn't want to do. Later on, Okiba meets Mariko, and she tells her to put a stop to her games. Mariko is adamant about sticking to her course of action because she feels it is correct. As the mother of the heir, Mariko informs Okiba that she has the authority to put an end to this whole situation. Okiba sheds her icy facade and displays emotion for the first time in the performance. John makes an unsuccessful attempt to stop Mariko from ending her own life. Thus, John aggressively tramples over the compound's arid garden. Ishido sends Yabashiga a message about his subservience. Mariko goes to her seppuku ritual after Father Martin leads a joint prayer. As Kiyama fails to appear, John chooses to be her backup. Just when Mariko is ready to stab her heart, Ishido suddenly shows there and saves her life. He tells her that she may go and that anybody else who wishes to depart Osaka can make a request, which will be reviewed and authorized if necessary. As they prepare to depart Osaka at the end of Shogun, Episode 9, everyone appears to be in a festive mood. John and Mariko start working on the pillowing task. But Yabashiga throws a curveball at that point, allowing the shinobi, ninja to enter the castle in order to eliminate Toranaga's group and kidnap Mariko. When Mariko chooses to sacrifice herself in an explosion set up by the shinobi, things go terribly wrong. I do believe she is dead. It's a really unsettling way to wrap up Mariko's entire story. Mariko was upset at her fate, just as Okiba had stated earlier in the show. She was angry because she had done everything right and yet she was destined for an unhappy existence. When no one was watching, she was able to accomplish her goals, including her relationship with John. Her faith remained unwavering. She remained devoted to Toranaga throughout. Was her death significant, though? I am aware that the passing of a nobleman typically incites people to demonstrate against the relevant tyrant during fascist times. Mariko's father was a betrayer. In my opinion, she was not wrong to have an affair because, in the past, women were allowed to pillow anybody they choose if men were allowed to have concubines. It shouldn't be beneficial for males alone to legalize polygamy, is it? Nevertheless, the public remained unaware of Mariko's love relationship. Therefore, it's possible that word of Mariko's disobedience may cause a stir in the public and boost support for Toranaga. That being stated, do you believe Toranaga can continue his deception by sacrificing Hiramatsu and Mariko?